Hey guys, this is episode 11 of the Will and Cody Show. We appreciate you guys listening. William has a new mic. He actually looks like a podcaster now. It's great.
I finally have a mic, and so hopefully it sounds good.
Otherwise,
I was really using these headphones. I think were like from one of the original like iPods, so it's like one of the early versions of the iPod, and it still works great. But it's nice to actually have a real mic to record this on. So hopefully it sounds better.
It sounds really good. I am gonna enjoy editing that more than I am your last mic. So
yeah, than from the headphones. So.
And we're trying something a little bit new. We actually got some our phones over here. We're a little cheap. We didn't buy cameras. We got our phones. So we're gonna try to give a little bit higher quality for our YouTube and Facebook audience. So and a little bit higher quality on the audio as well. But yeah, we're just gonna jump right in. We actually want to talk a little bit about some of the memes that we're trying to bring out. My buddy. Evan, he is playing or trying to create a couple memes for us. We kind of told him the idea. It's like, hey, come up with some finance memes. That's kind of hard to do. And he's hilarious. And so we're going to be starting sharing some of those as he spits them out.
Yeah. So it gives a little change of pace on our channel and our, some of our content that we're posting. So hopefully you like it. It made us laugh. So if nothing else, we got a kick out of it. Being able to create some funny stuff. So let us know if you guys like that. At least I think it generates a little more interaction, at least so far. We tend to get a little more feedback on, if people have, if they get the joke, if they don't get the joke, or if there's any response to it. So it's kind of fun. We're trying to make it fun and lively. So hopefully you get to check some of those out. And then, it's kind of fun to make ourselves into memes. So we'll see if we can make ourselves memes one day.
I'm still working on that Will meme.
Yeah. Hashtag make Will a meme. So that's the goal.
It's going to happen, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hilarious. These are not like, some of these may be financial advice. Some of them are not financial advice. They're just jokes. So please don't take them too serious.
Yeah.
We got one that's like, it's hard to explain, but it's like the car, it's like going down a road and then suddenly like gets on a turn or on a ramp, and it says stimulus check in like Lego Star Wars or something.
Yeah. It's like, well, saving that and then,
exactly. So like, don't do that. But unless you can. So, but anyway, so we want to try a quick segment. Will, I'm gonna you're our Twitter guy. You handle our Twitter. Everybody, if you want to tweet, go see William, and check out our Twitter at Ask Will and Cody.
Few followers. Yeah, I'm working on it.
We're getting there. And so I'm going to share with you a couple tweets, and I just want to get like a cold reaction off you. Just kind of see if it's something that maybe you agree with, disagree with, or maybe just get your thoughts on. Just kind of try out a new segment. So
I promise that Cody's going to. So we talked that he's going to come up with these, but I have not heard these tweets. So this is totally 100% my reaction to it. So I have no idea.
I did find them on our feed, so it might be the case that you've already seen them, but oh well. So, all right, here's the first one. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're not going to say the person's name, just that way if we like completely disagree, like we don't want to discredit people. So, but all right, here we go. Every successful person avoids procrastination.
I mean, I'd say that's mostly true.
Mostly true.
I would say most successful people I know don't procrastinate. They're kind of go-getters, get stuff done. But I don't want to say like all successful people. Like,
right.
I know plenty of like, I think it's a Bill Gates quote, where he says like, if you want a difficult job done, hire a lazy person because they'll figure out the easiest way to do it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe if somebody's really smart, they can procrastinate. But I feel like procrastinate is just a little bit different than like just taking the easy route. So I think procrastinating's a little bit just, what you're supposed to do, but you don't do it. So I think it makes it harder to be successful. I'll put it that way.
Right.
And that's something I myself am difficult of, is like, if you need to go do something, don't procrastinate it, go do it. And so I think that's I would say it's a key trait of successful people. So I would say I agree with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
I actually saw a TED Talk. A guy was explaining, he said that people that procrastinate too much are like super, super last minute, 9 times out of 10 are not the geniuses, is what he was saying, or the people that get stuff done. But then he said the people that get things done way too early said that they tend not to be as super successful or as smart in situations. He said it's actually towards the middle. Is people that procrastinate a little bit, but still get it done in like a reasonable amount of time. And that area is like really, really vague. Yeah. And I'll find the TED Talk. We can talk more about it. But that was something I thought was interesting.
Because in college, I was definitely towards sometimes the too far procrastinate end, where it's like, okay, I should have started this way earlier. So I think I could have done, it would have been a lot less stress if I would at least started earlier.
You saying 3 a.m. with a cup of coffee isn't inspiring?
I pretty much, it was like, if I had a big paper, I'm doing an all-nighter. Like it's pretty much 1 for 1 of amount of big papers and amount of all-nighters. So it was.
Yeah. I think you just explained to every college student.
Yeah, pretty much. So at least that was my experience. So I was still successful in college. So maybe I just disproved my point, but I think for the most part, in the long run, I think people that just get it done, tend to be more successful. So
Gotcha. All right. Next one. I am going to tell you who tweeted this. It's Dave Ramsey, your old friend Dave.
Oh, man.
You should
don't make me talk
tweet
about
him
Dave.
back. Tell him hi.
Yeah. My boy Dave.
All right. Winning with money is 80% behavior and only 20% head knowledge. What to do isn't the problem. Doing it is.
I would agree with that. I don't know if I would say, just off the top of my head, I don't know if I would say those percentages, but I would say a lot more of it is practice. I think you can know the theory, you could read all the books, but what are you actually going to go do? I think it's the key thing. So as far as importance, I would agree with that. Because I think if you even do half the amount of things you know you're supposed to do, I think you're going to be well off. So I think importance, definitely, like execution is up there. I think you do have to know what you're doing. So you don't want to be 100% on the wrong thing. So I think it's good to have that percentage. So I'd say I agree. I think, I'd say 20 to 40% is head knowledge. And then the rest is you actually got to go do it. So that's all that matters. Right. You could be really smart, but what are you actually going to go do? So
right. That kind of goes back to our I totally agree. It kind of goes back to our thoughts on like, when we were talking about like math versus behavior.
Totally.
And, we finance is more of a behavior problem than it is a math problem. There's a book coming out, or it is out, but I haven't read it yet. It's called The Psychology of Finances. I believe that's what it's called. Okay. I'll have to do a little bit more research on it. But from what I was reading, it's more about like the behavior side of things. Cause you and I, we've read so many finance books about, and it's just math. And it's just like, if you do this, then this is going to happen. But we don't really talk, or most books don't really talk a lot about like the behavior, the thought process behind buying and spending and saving. So.
Yeah. I think it does come down to habits too. I think habits are a main thing. What you regularly do is going to prove your success. So, I think that does play into it. But I think, behavior is a big part of it. So I think, definitely in that 80% area, I'd say. So I agree with Dave on that one.
Cool. we agree with Dave with like most things, I guess. So that we'll add that to one.
I need to figure out my percentage on agree with Dave.
it's probably like a 60%, maybe like a 70.
60-40.
We'll have to do a podcast like what we agree with Dave and what we don't.
We'll have to like break down. Yeah, man.
Like break down Dave.
I'm going to get blocked by Dave Ramsey after that.
Alrighty. Here's the last one. I actually found this on Instagram, but it is a tweet. So it's like a picture.
Okay. That works.
Yeah. So, and it's actually Anthony O'Neill, which is one of Dave Ramsey's personalities.
Okay.
So, all right, 79% of millionaires in the U.S. did not receive an inheritance from their parents or other family members. And then there's an emoji of like a head exploding.
I mean, I don't know the data behind it, so I'm assuming he didn't make the number up. So I'm assuming the data is correct. It's definitely goes against what we kind of think what takes place, or what we kind of guess would happen, right? I mean, we kind of just get this picture of these crazy rich families, and they just keep passing down, the money to the next generation, and that's all the rich.
Mm-hmm.
And we call those, like the old bloods, in the rich world, because they just inherited their money from, another generation. But, we think of it as a small group that actually worked and, made it. And I don't know if that's just not enough of those stories get out there, or we just think you have to be born with this money, to be able to get there. So if those are the actual numbers, it's a good, it goes along with what I think. I think, anybody can make it, if they're disciplined and, and work it well. So I would say, I would agree with that. I don't know what the actual number is. I don't know what data he's pulling from.
Mm-hmm.
But it would seem to be, right. If I was guessing, I would guess that more people inherited their money. And it possibly is maybe just higher dollars get it inherited, to those few percentage. It's a lot of money.
Right.
Maybe that's my guess. I don't know.
So like instead of percentage of the people, percentage of the money that's inherited,
I would say that's
maybe you think it'd be a little bit more.
The greater, like that 1% or not 1%, the percentage of people that inherited their money. I just have a feeling that's a lot of money compared to the other percent that made it. You know what I'm saying? So that could be the case. But I think, it's a great stat if it's true. That'd be awesome. That many people. It
is because that comes from, because I'm remembering that comes from the study that Dave and Chris Hogan did, which is the book that Everyday Millionaire was written about. I think they said 80%, so maybe that's a more detailed. But
and that's
79%
awesome. Yeah, of what they surveyed. Yeah, that's an awesome statistic. That hey, you can make it, and it's not all these people with trust funds and stuff. So everyday people that can get there. So I would say that's can be true. Yeah, that tweet. Mm-hmm. I think I just agreed with all of them. So we got to find some stuff for me to disagree with.
I didn't choose like very for our first time trying this segment. I didn't choose very like controversial.
That's fair. That's fair. I
somewhat did see one that said
with Dave. So I'll fluctuate his percentage on that. But I agree with the principle. So I agree with the principle of all of them. So at least.
Nice. Yeah, I saw one tweet. It was like Diamond Hands, Dogecoin. I thought you would disagree with that one, but I was like, nah, we're not going to do that yet.
Yeah,
we'll do that next time. We'll do that next time.
Yeah.
So actually that tweet leads me into the next topic, which we wanted to get into because somebody actually commented on that post on Instagram and completely said that this is false. And and I checked the book, the data, from that study of the 10,000 millionaires, that is what the data says. And so the person says, no, that's completely false. That's not true. It's hard to I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it's hard for the little guy to get ahead. And, not everybody can become wealthy is basically what he said. Of course, some people were agreeing and some were disagreeing. But I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit about, what we think as far as and it seems to be a very common trend in the finance world on Instagram and Twitter and stuff is this fight for, the little guy can't get ahead. And then, no, it's, you just got to hustle. That seems to be the common answers for that question. So,
yeah, man, a lot to get into. First off, as I said earlier, I think people can make it. As when I say make it is enough to have financial freedom, enough to not have to worry about money, where you can live off the money that you have. You can give generously, you can do extra things, go on, trips, stuff like that. And then retirement is another thing. It used to be the classification was just if you could get to a millionaire status. I think the bar's raised a little bit. So you need probably a little bit more than that. But that's kind of the thing I'm referencing when I mean be successful with money. I think anybody can do it. I think there are levels to it. There's different kinds. There's, there's rich, wealthy, and then there's, the crazy wealthy people. Mm-hmm. So I think there's levels to it in that. But I think anybody could get to a place of financial independence where, you're not having to worry about money. Now, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have to sacrifice some things. But I think anybody can get to that point. And I think sometimes we think, we're stuck in the class that we are. So if we're lower, middle class, we're stuck there. But I think, I know, you can get to the next rung. You may not be Bezos, okay?
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be able to get there. Work hard if you want to, if that's what your goal is, fine. But just because maybe you can't get to that level doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And so I think there's definitely ways you can get ahead, but there are sacrifices that's going to be made. And so I realize there's, people say the principle, you have to have money to make money. I think that's a really difficult thing for people who are truly, in our, in, our poor communities. How do you even get, that's the toughest step. I'm just going to be honest. Like just getting from a place of having nothing to having just something, it's going to be really tough. And so, I don't want to, discourage that, but it's going to be a lot of work to get to that first rung of, okay, you at least, we're able to set aside some money that you can now start getting ahead. That's going to take a little bit for most people. But I think if you keep working that process of, as you said, try to make as much as you can, work hard, and then spend less than you make, and then invest the difference. I think that formula can help you get ahead, no matter where you are, and it can help you get kind of to the next rung. Again, I think maybe we put the expectation too high that we're gonna, be Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, and so it's what is your goal? I think what do you define success as? And I think for me, getting to, a good stable place, I think anybody can get there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you disagree, but
I totally agree. I mean, success is like so vague. And I think some people have like,
what do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what does success even mean? And like, what does wealth mean? Like, I actually study what wealth means. It doesn't mean like you're super rich. Like, you could be middle class and have wealth, have something. It may not be a lot. You've seen the meme. It's not a lot, but it's honest work, right?
Right.
And so, that's for a lot of people I know that's the way it is. It's like they work their butt off and then they don't have much, but they have something, they don't have debt. They may own their house. They have a little bit in retirement savings and they're going to make it. They're going to be okay. And so, what is success? What is wealth? But I think anybody can reach a form of success, a form of wealth. It's going to vary, but there's a point where like, if you've got two guys and they're both investing in their 401k, one puts a couple more $100 in theirs a month than the other one. And they, their index funds were doing a little bit better than the other one. Well, oh no, this guy got 5 million and this guy only got like 2 million. Well,
still did pretty great.
This one's going to complain more about like, oh, you got a nicer, Ferrari than me. Like that's for first world problems. Yeah. So, that kind of, that's a good argument to have at the golf course. It's like, oh, he's got a nice BMW and mine's just a Corvette. Like, Right.
At that point, who's going to care the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Both, as we would say, you both like made it. You're both, financially, independent.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it defines what is success to you. And I had another point that I was going to say, but I just forgot it. And I think, working your way up, and I think, there are going to be, sacrifices, but I think you can, anybody can make it and do the math on it. Like, if, people say, okay, inflation's too high, you can never get return. Okay. Look at what average returns are. You're going to see the math on that. Every little bit you do will help you get to that next step. So I think if you follow, some basic principles, I think you can get ahead. Another thing, I just remember the thought I was gonna mention is I've seen too many people do it for people to say that you can't. You know what I mean? Like I've seen way too many people be successful just following basic financial principles, and then being able to get ahead to say that nobody can do it. Like I've seen too many people do it. Right. There's too many like biographies of people. I know too many people personally that just worked their way up. And, so I just think, look at the cases of those people, and it's just difficult to say nobody can do it when I've clearly seen people do it. So
Right. Yeah. And I don't know all the data, so I'm sure that there's some people that are really, really, really struggling, and it may seem almost impossible, right? But for the majority of Americans, it is very much achievable. And even for those extremely poor people, like there's too many, rags to riches stories in America. And it may seem like the system's rigged or you may not can make it, but like having that kind of mindset, just a positive mindset can really, really help you get out of that. But there's, I just in my neighborhood, which isn't a very, great neighborhood, but they got some nice cars, they're making their payments. They've got good jobs and stuff. And it's like, if they just followed certain principles, they're going to be fine. They're going to make it. And so for the majority of Americans, it's achievable. It's achievable without really too much effort. But for those that are, at the bottom, it is very difficult from go to 0 to 1. It's easier to go from 1 to 100 than it is from 0 to 1. Because you're right. It takes money to make money. Yeah, so
it's difficult.
Just achieving that money, that's going to be really, really, really difficult. Yeah. But I think it is achievable.
Yeah, totally. And I just thought of a tweet I saw by a guy who came from that similar background with, like, we always say, come from a poor background. He came from nothing, and I'm glad I remember this because he said, if you would have started out thinking that, I want to be rich, he's like, I would have never made it. But he basically said I just tried to get a little bit closer and a little bit closer and a little bit closer. So I went from, all right, I got nothing to, all right, let me save $100. All right, let me save $1,000. All right, 2,000. All right, 5,000, 10. Just get to that next portion and you'll work your way up. But I think if we want to make the goal of like, I tried it for a year and I'm not a millionaire, so I don't want to, do it. It's like it takes steps, but the steps get easier as you go along. So, you may start out and it's like, man, it's going to be difficult to get those first steps done, and start setting aside money, really start saving and investing. But once you make it a habit and it starts to grow, you'll see it start compounding. And that's really where you see the growth. So I think I don't know if people get discouraged in those few steps, and it's difficult. Some people are out of work. They just, in and out of jobs, they can't help it. So it's that first step of getting stable and on the right path that's really most difficult. And then once you get it going, it starts working for you instead of against you, which is awesome. Yeah. So I think once you get to that place, man, it's, it's great. So, I don't want to take it for granted, that it's going to be easy for everybody. So I didn't want to like come out with that and say, it's easy. Don't worry about it. It's going to be difficult for a lot of people to get there, but I think it's achievable. That's the main thing I want to kind of hammer home.
I totally agree. So with that, kind of our last segment, we were thinking about doing it is books. Like what kind of books would recommend? So for those people that it may be very difficult, what are some books that you recommend for them to pick up and either inspire them or kind of equip them for that step to get from maybe 0 to 1 or, from 1 to 2, becoming 100-aire and then 1,000-aire, 100,000-aire, just continuing up to be able to get there.
Yeah. So ones I was thinking of, so this one, I don't want to say it's super basic, but Richest Man in Babylon. It's a thin book. It's not a lot. And it might seem, I don't want to say like cheesy, but the way it's written, it's super simple, but the principle there is so invaluable. Like it's awesome. It's what we hammer home with margin. And it like the book is just telling stories. So it's an easy to read format of just if you spend less than you make and then you invest the difference, and it slowly builds upon it. So it first says like, okay, I only have a little bit. And so then, the main character starts to set aside a little bit. So he says 1/10 of whatever he makes, he starts saving and he sees it grow. And then he's able to invest that. And then it gives some principles with investing to it. And it's super simple. And it's super easy to get through, but I think it's really good principles to start out with that one. If, you're looking at, if you're in debt, it's hard to beat Total Money Makeover. I mean, that's a great just principles for getting out of debt, and getting focused and getting through it. So I haven't seen many other ones that one's just simple, easy to follow. So I'd say that'd be a good one. So either one of those two I found were super simple. and good way to get started and getting started on the journey, towards it. So basic principles, I'd say just Richest Man in Babylon. It's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're in debt, I'd say Total Money Makeover is a great one.
Yeah. You can't beat Total Money Makeover when it comes to debt.
Yeah.
That Dave Ramsey system of getting out of debt. I mean, we've talked about that. It's
That's
really
the part
good. And
we like about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he lays out really good foundation for the beginning of that book. Mm-hmm. It's later towards in the book where we might like disagree a little bit, but that portion right there, that just getting out of debt. I mean, he really hits the hammer on the head. I don't even know the quote.
Hit the nail on the head.
The nail. Thank you. Like the hammer, like that makes more sense to me. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. I get it.
You're right. But that one's perfect. Like anybody, in my opinion, anybody that's in finances, they need to read that book. But another one that I was thinking of was, and I quickly read this one. I'm a cheapskate, so I'm sitting in a bookstore and I saw this book and I just like read it in 2 hours. So I scanned it a little bit, but I know the premise. It was called The Latte Factor. Okay. And to my understanding, and I had to like read a Wikipedia to kind of like, because it's a story. It's like it's an actual story of someone's life. It's fictional, but it explains the principles kind of similar to The Richest Man of Babylon, but from more like a modern time. It's just a young lady. She's just, she's got an apartment. She's working a decent corporate job. She just feels like she can't get ahead, but she goes and gets a coffee every morning. It's a latte. And this guy she meets, he just kind of starts telling her about the Latte Factor. And the idea was that, hey, what happens if you just didn't get that? And what would happen? Because you're getting one every morning. And it's, $6.75 or whatever the cost is. What would that look like every day if you just didn't get that and you put it and invested it in your 401k that your company has? And it was cigarettes for another guy, and then it was like getting lunches out for another person. So the Latte Factor was just, what's that thing that you could get rid of that could create that margin? And it just compounded from there. Once you find a little bit of margin, you start finding more margin. Even if it's only $5, like you start to find more margin. That's a really good book, Latte Factor.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if anybody just wants to be like inspired to obtain wealth, if they want to understand wealth, how achievable it is. I mean, Everyday Millionaire, you can't beat that. By Chris Hogan. Any book by Chris Hogan. He has one called Retired Inspired. Yeah. I'm tongue-tied today, dude. Retired Inspired, and that's a great book.
Okay.
I highly recommend that one. But I would recommend Everyday Millionaire first. It's a really good book. And then there's the Millionaire Next Door. That was a little older. It's very similar concepts, but that one was written in the 90s. So if you want a little more modern take, definitely read Everyday Millionaire by Chris Hogan.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of goes with what we were talking about earlier, that it can be everyday people. I think we just don't see it enough, that can get there. So I think that was a good, kind of any stage that you're at, in that journey. Kind of along the way, those would be great places to get started. And I think you can get those. Again, you could go to a bookstore and read it in 2 hours, or you could, try to get it from a library or audiobook, or
all those are in Barnes and Noble. Just go grab a cup of coffee and go read them
for a little bit.
Yeah. The Everyday Millionaire, they've got stories of people that basically became millionaires and they didn't even know it. They were just working. They stayed out of debt. They put money in their 401ks or IRAs. And they literally like woke up one day and they're like, oh, I have a net worth of $1 million. That's interesting. And they were like just surprised, and they told Chris, and it's really inspiring. So there's a lot of good stories in there. You can usually find yourself someone very similar in your shoes. It's like, a farmer, guy doing a corporate job, guy just doing, just a basic like 9 to 5 as a technician. Just stuff like that. So you can find yourself in there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I like all those books. I would love to read all of them. So I think, and simple too. Like I've read finance books that read like a textbook, and after college, I skimmed through way too many textbooks. I don't want to say I read them, but I skimmed through a lot of them, and so it's like some of it I like to get down into the numbers, but usually it's like, give me the principle. Let's, go through it, be simple so I can understand it. And so all those I think are right there. So
absolutely.
Easy to get. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're right at our 30-minute mark, so we're going to wrap it up for this time. We appreciate you guys listening. This has been episode 11. Can't believe we've already done 11 of these, dude.
Yeah, it's going by fast.
It's crazy. It's going by fast. We started doing this last year, I think like September. Yeah. We're just doing little clips, and then we started at the beginning of this year with the podcast, and I'm enjoying it. So we're going to keep doing this. If you guys like it, please follow us. You can visit our website, www.willandcody.com. Also follow us on Twitter, Ask Will and Cody. You will reach out to William. He's the one that handles that. And if you want to find us, Will and Cody, or at Will and Cody on Instagram, you'll find me. That's where all the memes are. Maybe he'll share some of the memes, but
I might get some memes. We'll see.
Yeah, and follow. I think it's Evan T88. He's the one that's making our memes for us, or some of them. I'm trying a few. They're not that
the funny
great,
ones
but,
are from Evan.
Yeah, the funny ones are from Evan. So if you see one that's like, that one I probably made, so my bad. So
yeah.
But anyway, we appreciate you guys listening. This has been episode 11. We will see you guys next time.
See ya.